and the only person close to creating an institution is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's the only man that I can say close that opened up a store, opened up a hospital, opened up a school, opened up a business, and put men who were felon onto a work situation where they can support their families. And people may have went against that system, but that system made them stop smoking and drinking, took their nickels and dimes and put them forward. The only person other than Elijah Muhammad was Prophet Divine. He was the next man who I know who put together an organization of economic growth and development where he put houses and hospitals and schools together for our community. We look around, we're missing that today. My son or child gets sick, I had to go to somebody outside my community to save my child's life. What are we doing as men? What are we doing as communities? What are we doing as people? What are we doing? What is our add-on? Where we are today is not where we should be. We lost this piece called culture, a way of life, a way of living, a righteous way of living. We find it is much easier, much better to turn our head than to stand up and push back. Just to push back. And just to speak about Dr. King. Dr. King didn't push as hard as we think he did because the power he had, he could have changed the world. We didn't have to integrate. We could have stayed separated but economically grow. And what is missing in our community right now is economics. I don't own a business. You don't own a business. He don't own a business. We don't have our hands on the business structure. We don't have our money on the economical flow. The money that comes down, let's just talk about money that comes in our community that belongs to us, don't come to us. Our leadership has sold us out, from legislators to the pulpit. From the legislature to the pulpit, where is your leadership? Who is standing and helping you and fighting you against the evils of this community that prey upon the youth, the elderly, and the poor and the wretched? Who is standing guard? Who is stepped there? And you have to ask yourself, what is a people who do not stand up for their own God-given rights? What is wrong? Something's got to be wrong. And the only thing I can think of is the power of the drum. And people say, what do you mean by that? You playing the drum, everybody in the room will start dancing. Everybody in the room will start uniting. Everybody in the room will get happy. Everybody in the room will have a social development. The problem is that we don't understand the power in our culture. Our culture is what keeps us together as a fabric that makes us want to move forward. And if you're protecting that culture, you won't have to worry about anything else. I'm not against the Hasidics or anybody else, but Lord knows they keep their culture intact. They keep their people intact from generation to generation to generation. And who's been on this earth longer than us? Who's been on this planet longer than us? So you have to say to yourself, there's a conspiracy of a conspiracy of a conspiracy going on. And who is the victims of this conspiracy? You and I. You and I. And how do we stop this? Is become righteous men. Stand up for what's right and do what's right. We don't have to rewrite nothing, don't have to rechange nothing. Pick up the books of old that have already been written, read those books, and teach it to our youth. And let our youth live that out. And we'll have a beautiful community. Our community won't be no different than nobody else's. Because you'll know you have to labor. You know you have to get from the fruits of your labor. You don't have to have harvest time. You don't have to do those things that only everybody else on the earth is doing. Educating their young people, getting up into technology, teaching our young people. For example, even these cameras. Young people should have cameras walking the streets telling our story. The question is, who is writing our history today? Who wrote our history the last 35 years, 50 years right here? Who's wrote the history of Long Island for the last 50 years? Just what has happened. We've changed government on Long Island, but do we get the accolades of it? Are we receiving the riches of it? Are we getting the development of it? My Roosevelt, your Uniondale, your Hempstead looked the same way 10 years ago that it does right now. Okay, and I can take you all over Nassau County and show you beautiful pieces has happened out of block grant money that our block grant money we don't get a piece of. And if we do get a piece of it, it's a going in that won't do anything for it anyway. For example, the African American Museum. The African American Museum has a $250,000 budget annually. What can it do? Pay for some salaries? What can it do? And we should be at raw about it. We should jump up and down. When there's museums small that have $2 million budgets. People, what are we going to do? Come and let's do some changing. Let's get right. Let's get righteous. I don't believe in telling nobody who they should serve, but I know in your heart you know what's right. Because we all know what's righteousness and we know what's unright. And let's stop letting any and everything go by us. Put a stop on it. Because if we're about living, we're afraid to live, we're afraid to die. And we must live life in its fullest. And inside that message, I want to say peace. Thank you for recording me, and check me out next time.